Phoenix collapsed and died over the weekend. It exposed the dark side of Hollywood, a town that some say lures the young and naive into a world of decadence. It's a world River Phoenix talked about in his last interview. Doug Bruckner has the unnerving story.
I deal with a lot of phonies, you know, and I'm not going to give my truth to the phonies. You know, like, so that I figure, like, everything you say, they lie and change anyway, so maybe if you lie, give them maybe, like, for some reason it'll come out to be truthful.
Here at the St. James Club is where River Phoenix gave his last interview, just a few blocks down the Sunset Strip from where he died. It's a final glimpse into one of Hollywood's most promising careers and shocking deaths.
I'm very tired of living here. It makes me kind of want to, you know, move somewhere where, you know, Paris isn't more together than we do.
God, he was just so young, you know, to die.
It's just a loss. Just a brilliant life was gone.
As fans of the actor hold vigil in the dark, his tragic death shines a spotlight on the double life of many Hollywood teen stars.
What the public sees is just a glimpse. It's a peek. It's not the teen star in real life. It's an act.
River Jude Phoenix entered this world on August 23, 1970, in Madras, Oregon. The first child of John Lee Bottom and Arlen Sharon Donetz, later known as Hart Phoenix. His very name seemed prophetic. River, a force of nature, and Jude, after the Beatles' Hey Jude. From birth, his life would flow along turbulent waters, guided by the ideals and demons of those around him. River's parents were restless souls of the 1960s counterculture, seekers of meaning, who shunned traditional paths. They moved frequently, embracing communal living, alternative spirituality, and eventually the Children of God, a controversial religious sect that promised salvation, but became infamous for abusive practices. In 1973, when River was just 3 years old, John and Arlen joined the cult and moved the family to South America. River spent his formative years in Caracas, Venezuela, where the Phoenix children, River, Rain, Joaquin, Liberty, and Summer, experienced both poverty and the indoctrination of a dangerous organization.
The cult Children of God, founded by Moses David Berg, he reportedly sanctioned sex among children.
I practice what I preach, and I preach sex, boys and girls, hallelujah.
To win converts, women members enticed total strangers.
Only the flirting was more than flirting. It was actually, you know, religious prostitution.
Bizarre? This woman thought so. It's why she left Children of God.
The cult preached flirty fishing, encouraging sexual relationships to attract converts and spread their gospel. River would later confide to friends and interviewers that he was exploited at a young age, an experience that scarred him deeply. Years later, Rain Phoenix confirmed these dark memories in public statements.
I've made it a cause and a purpose in my life to get my children out of that organization. When you know that something is wrong, you can't sit back and let your children live that. I mean, to never know anything else. I can't sit back and let that happen.
Vivian herself was a member of the cult for 13 years, and during that time, all of her children were born. A few years ago, she escaped with her youngest, Yancha. Later, she became driven to get the other children out because she understood the abusive practices of the cult which she had abandoned.
By 1977, John and Arlen saw the cult's sinister underbelly and fled, disillusioned and ashamed. They adopted the surname Phoenix, symbolizing rebirth from the ashes of their past. Returning to the U.S., they settled briefly in Florida, then Los Angeles, scraping by on low-wage jobs, while the children sang and performed music on street corners to help feed the family.
The Children of God was started in 1968 in California by this man, Moses David Berg. Years later, ex-members would call him demonic, evil, psychotic. But in the beginning, everything seemed very innocent. Berg preached to the hippie generation about Jesus and recruited them to join him in his all-consuming drive to save souls. Berg's entire family belonged, including his youngest daughter, Faith.
We're just going to get out there and sing and dance and give testimonies and show them the love of Jesus.
Today, 20 years later, the cult continues to operate. Members estimated in the thousands live all over the world in communal houses. Berg himself keeps his whereabouts a secret, but he manages to maintain strict obedience from his followers through a series of commandments written in so-called Mo letters. But what's most striking about the cult is Berg's philosophy when it comes to sex.
I practice what I preach, and I preach sex, boys and girls. Hallelujah.
In 1973, Berg introduced a practice he calls flirty fishing. His older daughter, Deborah, who left the cult in the late 70s, explains the term.
Well, Dad got the terminology from fishing, what Jesus said in the Bible, to go out and fish for men. And so she was going to use the women to fish for the men, to bring the men to the kingdom of God through flirting. Only the flirting was more than flirting. It was actually, religious prostitution.
For Vivian, practices like flirty fishing made her doubt her commitment to the cult.
I don't care how many scriptures Moses David came up with, justifying it. When I read it personally, it didn't say that to me.
A Children of God spokesman claims they stopped flirty fishing about a year ago, in part because of the spread of AIDS. But the practice, very disturbing to Vivian, was in full swing when she was a member of the cult. And even more alarming to Vivian were Berg's sexual doctrines involving children, the very age of her own.
God created boys and girls able to have children by about the age of 12 years of age. God, now he's going to advocate childhood sex. He's going to advocate child brides. Yes.
River was a prodigy of sorts, a gifted musician, actor, and empath. He could play guitar by age 5 and composed original songs with Rain. Their mother, now working as a secretary at NBC, pushed her children toward show business, hoping it would lift them out of poverty.
One audition we discovered may pull at your heartstrings. It's an early screen test of River Phoenix, who...
Awake, Mom. I woke up at 5 o'clock and I couldn't get back to sleep.
We'd come out to Los Angeles to make it, and at the time I was 9 years old and my sister was 7, and we wanted to be recording artists, which was a bit far-fetched, I suppose, because we were somewhat amateur. Because we were young, we were novelty and cute and talented, but it was, it just wasn't album material. Then later on we got into, commercials for financial reasons, and acting became, an attractive concept, so we pursued. Moving around often exposed me to a lot of different lifestyles, different people, different atmospheres. Learning to adapt in these new situations had given me some insight, on acting as far as, from role to role, and blending in well with a character and seeming casual and natural because, in new towns and in new places and new schools, you can't, stand out as being, the awkward new boy in town, and same with, acting. And I guess just, being exposed to a lot of different, characters and people, and having, that experience under my belt has, helped me a lot.
In retrospect, I think that River Phoenix, had he lived, would have had an amazing career. And I think he became so comfortable with the camera.
Today's the day we're going to Grandpa's farm.
You should have a smooth flight all the way.
I hope so. Brian, could you tell us what that problem is? My bed has 5 lumps. 5 lumps? Wow. Is it old? Is that why it has so many lumps? Uh-huh. I see. Ooh, is it really old? 5 generations. Wow. Ooh, I guess you could say that it's on its last springs.
Taking a cue from their older brother, the other kids put their heads together and decided acting seemed like a pretty good idea.
1 teaspoon. We're making your cake.
With their various acting careers now taking up much of the time, do they miss not having a normal childhood?
We kind of miss it sometimes, missing our friends, but when we go someplace, we get to meet other people, but then you have to say goodbye to them. But, other than that, it's pretty fun.
I feel that their opportunities are just amazing, the things that they've gotten to do and have gotten confidence. And the people that they have met along the way, I think it's amazing, and the places that they've traveled. And I think they're pretty much children. I mean, I really do.
By 1980, River was auditioning for commercials, landing spots for Mitsubishi, Ocean Spray, and Saks Fifth Avenue.
Have an Ocean Spray.
Cran Great and Pink Grapefruit Juice Cocktail.
His first major role came in the short-lived TV series 7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
Mr. Gunn, how much are your pants?
Oh, 6 to $10. You gonna do some plaster mine?
Thinking about it. Trying to earn some extra money.
Oh, you should have a copy of my book, Gold Fever. $1.50 just for you.
Well, I don't have $1.50.
Pay me when you get your first strike.
Thanks. My brother says most of the gold is gone from Carbon County.
Is that so? If you was to mosey along the north branch of the river where the bend is, you might be surprised at what you'd find.
But River was no ordinary child actor. He radiated sincerity and depth well beyond his years.
You know, Ben, you were such an obsessive person, and that drives me crazy. Because you can't get emotional if you're going to study anything scientifically. Now, what we have here, as near as I can tell, is an electrically generated point of force. What? By typing in coordinates, I can make it move anywhere in 3 dimensions. Even as far as slamming it through a few books or a brick wall.
River's big break came in 1986 with Stand By Me, directed by Rob Reiner, and based on Stephen King's novella, The Body. As Chris Chambers, the tough yet tender leader of 4 boys on a journey to find the remains of a missing boy, River delivered a performance that critics described as heart-wrenching.
You ready for school? No. Junior high. You know what that means. By next June, we'll all be split up. What are you talking about? Why would that happen? It's not going to be like grammar school, that's why. You're taking your college courses, and me, Teddy, and Vern, while we'll be in the shop courses with the rest of the retards making ashtrays and birdhouses. You're going to meet a lot of new guys. Smart guys.
On set, River formed lasting friendships with co-stars Will Wheaton, Corey Feldman, and Jerry O'Connell. The film's exploration of trauma, grief, and loss resonated with River's own experiences, and his emotional monologue about being wrongly branded a thief remains iconic.
No one even asked me if I took the milk money that time. I just got a 3-day vacation. Did you take it? Yeah, I took it. You knew I took it. Teddy knew I took it. Everyone knew I took it. Even Vern knew it, I think.
He was just saying to Rob, I don't know how to do this. And Rob said, I just want you to think about a time where someone really wronged you. Where someone did a really terrible thing to you and no one would stand up for you. And I guess River had a moment like that in his life. And if you think about it, like, River's parents were in like a couple of different weirdo cults when he was growing up. And so he spent time during his formative years where as a child, you want your parents to sort of be protecting you, like playing the guitar in the street in South America or Central America or something like that to, like, you know, feed his family and stuff, you know? And when River came back from around the corner to film that scene, he had this emotional weight around him that freaked me out at the time because, like, as a little kid, like, I didn't know what to do with that, you know? And when the scene was done, he was sort of quiet for the rest of the day and then was sort of back to the way he had always been the very next day.
He had, you know, a worldliness, and he was articulate, and he had a way of just expressing himself in the most, he was like an adult. It was like talking to another adult. There was a wisdom about him, even at his young age, that led you to believe that he could be a leader and that he could take care of situations that got out of hand. He could smooth over situations, and that's very much what the character in the movie.
I always liked it, but I got real serious about it right after a film called Explorers, and I had been in a motorcycle accident in the dirt field behind while I was racing around, and was sitting around a lot, thinking and getting very serious about life and realizing, you know, how important it was to me. And then I got the Stand By Me audition soon thereafter, and I kind of limped in, which kind of helped me for the part in a way, you know, because I kind of had this kind of tragic, you know, air to me, you know, because I was kind of bummed out about this.
At 17 and the eldest, River Phoenix is clearly the best known of his siblings. With his work in last year's Stand By Me and Mosquito Coast, he drew rave reviews and established the family's name in Hollywood. He's since completed work on 2 more films and has others in the works.
I've had a chance to do a lot of things that I know that if I was in school, I would rather be doing.
Following Stand By Me, River took on a variety of roles that showcased his range as an actor. In Little Nikita, released in 1988, he starred opposite Sidney Poitier. River played a teenager caught between his American upbringing and the shocking discovery that his parents were Russian spies. That same year, he appeared in Running on Empty. River played Danny Pope, the gifted son of 1960s radicals, living on the run from the FBI.
That's beautiful.
It's for your mother.
You give it to her.
His deeply sensitive performance earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor at just 18 years old.
What made him an actor of such uniqueness was also the same thing that I think made him vulnerable in the world, which is there was no barrier between him and anything else. Everything you got from him was completely and totally pure. There was a quality about River that seemed stoned, that had nothing to do with being stoned. I mean, he was like, you know.
And I'm just trying to hold on to what I have, and I have a basically stable upbringing, and I think that I'll do okay if I stay real, you know, and if I remember that we're all just flesh and blood. That's it.
In 1989, River brought youthful charm to the role of young Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. His performance in the film's opening sequence left a lasting impression on audiences around the world.
Come on, kid. There's no way out of this.
River Phoenix was cast in the role of young Indy by director Steven Spielberg. As the film opens, we see where Indy's adventurous spirit began.
The opening of this movie introduces Indy to the one experience in his young career that set him on this path. And this is what happens to him on this particular day that turns him into a vagabond adventurer.
It's the closet of Coronado. We come across these people who are robbing some treasures, and Indy right off recognizes the importance of this, and he says, that cross is an important artifact. It belongs in a museum.
But it was My Own Private Idaho, 1991, that revealed River's full brilliance. As Mike Waters, a narcoleptic street hustler searching for love and belonging, River gave a performance so vulnerable and real that even his co-star Keanu Reeves credited him with setting the emotional tone. The campfire confession scene, much of which River improvised, is considered one of the most tender moments in queer cinema.
It's very important to establish a space for those who are not accounted for. Speaking of people that don't fit into a stereotype, it leaves out a lot of people in this world that aren't the model, you know, in a fashion sense of citizen. Or I protest that, and I think it's important to have a film that stirs up that idea, you know, that starts some sort of controversy.
Yeah.
If I had a normal family and a good upbringing, then I would have been a well-adjusted person.
Depends on what you call normal.
Yeah, it does. Well, you know, normal, like a mom and a dad and a dog and shit like that. Normal.
So you didn't have a normal dog?
No, I didn't have a dog.
You didn't have a normal dad?
Didn't have a dog or normal dad anyway, yeah. That's all right.
In films like Dogfight and I Love You to Death, River gave extra depth to his offbeat characters, but he wanted even more of a challenge. In the independent film My Own Private Idaho, River gambled with his reputation by taking a role as a male prostitute.
And one evening he said, because he played a hustler, and he said, Udo, let's go to the real hustlers. I said, okay. Then I picked somebody out and I interviewed the boy. And River was sitting there totally concentrated of listening to what the boy had to say, because that's a practice. If you're an actor, you play a hustler, you don't have to go to bed with people to know the feeling. I mean, you can learn it another way.
So, Rev. Sir. Why are you doing this part? I'm doing this part because I feel there's a theme that is stronger than any job anyone has. I find it just very ironic, just because of the terms that are laid down. What is success, right? And in this case, success is the motive, as you see it in talking to these two people who are somewhat experienced and how experienced they are, is money.
I think there was definitely a kinship, that he finds right at that moment when we ask him that question, that it is, whether I go to, take a movie from Hollywood and get paid for that, or whether I'm, one of these kids selling myself on the street, there's a connection between these two things.
Despite their image of being squeaky clean, modern, and prosperous, the cities of the Northwest are full of teen runaways and street kids, some of whom end up as rent boys. One of America's most respected independent filmmakers, Gus Van Sant, was inspired by the Northwest rent boy scene to make the film My Own Private Idaho. It's about the life of male prostitutes as seen through the rose-tinted eyes of Hollywood pretty boys River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves.
Hey, Michael, how long have I been here on the streets, on this crusade?
Huh. Well, I came back to town around 3.5 years ago, and that's when I met you, so it's been
3 years, Mike.
Yeah.
In the film, My Own Private Idaho, we tended to just use the character's job of hustling as just a sort of socioeconomic strata, like one character coming from a broken home, one character running away from a functional yet dysfunctional family. Just the whole subject of prostitution, I think, has always been titillating for people that aren't part of that society or part of that situation. They find it fascinating.
Well, I can't talk about My Own Private Idaho without talking about River. Extraordinary person, extraordinary, original, great heart, great mind, great spirit.
And what was unique about Private Idaho is that everyone lived in the same house. All the actors, I wouldn't say everyone, but the majority of the actors, the male actors in the film, myself and the director and a few other people lived in the house. There was no furniture in the house. In fact, I think people slept in sleeping bags, and I think the concept was to make everybody feel like they were a street kid, like they didn't have a place to sleep.
River was not just a movie star. He was a committed activist, a strict vegan from age 7, advocating fiercely for animal rights, supporter of environmental causes, including Earth Save and Earth First, donor to PETA and other animal welfare organizations.
It's what I would expect of anyone else, is what I try to do with my time. And I have a lot of good examples. I've met a lot of people in my lifetime who have been very committed to activism and have been very committed to expressing their opinions. And when we have that as an option, which we do as Americans, why don't we take that chance more often? Why don't we, extend ourselves into issues that affect us all and affect, the future.
He used his fame as a platform for change, often refusing to wear leather, and declining product endorsements that clashed with his ethics. Despite his idealism and talent, River battled inner demons. The trauma of his early years, the pressures of fame, and the culture of excess in early 90s Hollywood all took their toll.
Like most teenagers, River Phoenix had experimented with drugs and alcohol. But living among real street kids brought with it the harsh realities of street life.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I remember after River had done heroin, me asking him, is this the first time you've ever done it? And him telling me no. But I also remember not believing him. And that was during the making of My Own Private Idaho. I wouldn't want to blame anybody for that. You can't really say that it's, the circumstances surrounding one character choice. He made the choice. He decided to do the role. And, any actor will tell you, you can try to imagine it or you can live it. And, his style was, I want to live it.
River was introduced to drugs at a young age. Some accounts suggest as early as 11 or 12. By the time he was in his late teens, he was experimenting with marijuana, LSD, cocaine, and heroin. Though he sought refuge in his music, his band Aleka's Attic toured and recorded sporadically. His struggles deepened.
I think initially so much of his life was already in the public view that in a band he wanted to be a band, not a solo artist. And in a band he could become part of something.
Island Records signed River's band Aleka's Attic. He liked to tell the story that Aleka was a fictional poet-philosopher who gathered friends in his attic to discuss his ideas. When Aleka died, they formed a band to share his beliefs with others through music.
And no thought was foreign to him. Things could, you could watch his eyes and you could see horizons in them.
And there's definitely something to be said for the sincerity of the seeker. It's said that when the seeker is sincere, then the answer comes.
Friends and co-stars observed the change. On the set of Dark Blood, his final film, crew members reportedly saw him exhausted and pale. Samantha Mathis, his girlfriend at the time, later said she saw him grappling with forces he couldn't overcome. The trauma, the fame, and the people around him who enabled his self-destruction.
You don't get something you want because you're lucky. You get it because you will it.
Well, you must want a lot of things.
Only one thing. The final piece goes there. I'm making it now.
You're a very disturbing young man.
On October 30th, 1993, River planned to play music at the Viper Room, a club on Sunset Boulevard part owned by Johnny Depp. That night, the club was packed with industry insiders. River arrived with girlfriend Samantha, brother Joaquin, and his sister Rain. Accounts differ, but it's been suggested that River had already consumed a mixture of substances before arriving. Inside, he continued using. Some reports suggest he snorted heroin, provided by friends or acquaintances in the club. Members of the band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, were speculated to have given River the lethal dose, as they too had struggled with similar vices, and it was Flea who was attended to join River on stage that night. At around midnight, River began to feel unwell. He told Samantha he wasn't feeling right and wanted fresh air. He staggered outside, collapsed on the sidewalk, and started convulsing. Joaquin dialed 911, his panicked voice captured in one of the most haunting emergency calls in pop culture history.
Seizures on Sunset and Larrabee. Please come here.
Okay, calm down a little bit, okay? What's the address where you need it?
Sunset and Larrabee. It's at the Viper Room.
Okay, what's the address, sir? Do you know?
What's the address to the fucking club?
Yeah, sir? Sir, calm down a little bit, okay?
I'm sorry, it's my brother. Please come here.
How old is he?
He's 23.
Calm down, okay? If you can't calm down, give the phone to somebody else.
No, there's no one else around.
Okay.
I'm fine. I think he's head volume or something. I don't know.
Who's with him right now?
My sister, the people.
Okay, can you talk to her from where you are?
God, she's trying to give him mouth to mouth.
Sir, calm down. Tell her not to give him mouth to mouth.
Don't give him mouth to mouth.
You only give him mouth to mouth if he's not breathing. What's he doing? Just seems like he's sleeping right now?
Yeah, just looks like he's sleeping.
Okay, that's very normal. Okay?
Yeah?
That's very normal. Sometimes they do actually go to sleep.
Paramedics arrived swiftly, but could not revive him. River was pronounced dead at 1:51 a.m. at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. The cause, acute multiple drug intoxication.
It happened outside the Viper Room, a popular West Hollywood night spot. His friends say Phoenix had been, in the words of one of them, acting strange. When he collapsed, his brother called 911 and mentioned the tranquilizer Valium.
Okay, take it easy, okay?
Okay, now I think he had Valium or something. I don't know. So let's get over here, please.
Yeah, slow down, okay?
Well, where is the guy?
Okay, we have help on the way, all right?
I know.
River's death was met with shock and grief. Vigils were held at the Viper Room, where fans left flowers, candles, and notes. The media framed him as a cautionary tale. Another child star destroyed by fame. The club was shut down by Johnny Depp every year on the same night, until it changed ownership.
It's almost iconicized him in a way. You know, it's a tragedy that he had to go so young, but on the other side of it, he's become so much more legendary as a result of it.
I think he used heroin when he played. I think he was more relaxed and more calm playing when he was high.
Although Riojas has no proof or witnesses, he claims River approached him to buy drugs.
He would ask you for drugs. Yeah, he would ask me.
Heroin?
Yeah. I couldn't see why he didn't go anywhere else, but he said
basically he would come over with money.
Yeah.
And he wanted you to supply him with drugs.
And that was basically it.
Riojas then went on to tell us that the first time he did heroin with River, the young actor just didn't seem to know what he was doing.
Well, he didn't know how to hit himself, so to speak, you know?
What do you mean by hit?
Inject himself with the...
According to Riojas, over a period of 3 years, Phoenix would become a steady customer. And one night, River traveled over 6,000 miles just to buy drugs.
He flew in. When he got to my house, I found out that it was from New York. He got it. It was just hi-bye, boom, boom. He left. Where are you going? I'm going back to New York. And he just took off.
Those who knew him remembered his kindness, his passion, and his fierce desire to make the world better.
Hello, I'm River Phoenix, and if you care about animals, here's some good news. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals can show you easy ways to help out. It's up to us to take care of all our friends.
His younger siblings, especially Joaquin, would carry his legacy forward.
1993, really at the height of his fame. River was out one night with Joaquin and with one of their sisters, Rain, at a nightclub called the Viper Room. He had a drug overdose and ended up dying on the street outside the club. And the family doesn't talk about it a lot, and it's rare to have the whole family together. They were very brave and willing to talk about the impact that River had on their lives, but also that he continues to have on their lives and other people's lives.
Joaquin later credited River with pushing him into acting.
River Phoenix started showing Joaquin movies. He showed him Raging Bull.
He came home and very excitedly was like, you've got to see this movie. And through my brother and his understanding and appreciation of that kind of acting, I think it just like awakened something in me, and I suddenly could see it through his eyes, and I was just deeply affected by De Niro in particular. There's a part in Raging Bull where De Niro meets a girl in between the chain link fence, and he shakes her pinky. It's me. And it's like this just beautiful little detail. It's this wonderful moment, and I think that in some ways is what I'm always looking for? What are the possibilities? What more can we say about our experience, a human experience in this moment?
And dedicated his 2020 Oscar win for Joker to his brother.
When he was 17, my brother wrote this lyric. He said, "Run to the rescue with love and peace will follow." Thank you.
Today, River Phoenix is remembered not just as a lost talent, but as a symbol of innocence destroyed by the twin forces of exploitation and addiction.
He was so unhappy with his life that he continued with the drug abuse until it got so bad that he finally died.
We'll call him Tom, not his real name, but Tom claims to be a close friend of River and his family for a number of years. Tom says River had a squeaky clean image as a vegetarian and a shy private person.
Well, I suppose you can meet with someone and say, hey, you know, we think the same way, we like each other's work, let's do something. I guess, there's that kind of talk that goes on.
But he was a walking contradiction in terms of his own health.
How bad was his drug problem?
He looked very bad. He looked yellowed. His skin was jaundiced. His hair was hanging in his eyes. He was slurring his speech.
Tom says even River's parents could not stop his spiral into the world of drugs. In an open letter to the Los Angeles Times, River's mother, Hart Phoenix, wrote, River was not a regular drug user. He was never part of the club scene in L.A.
His parents had absolutely no influence on his life.
Seems like the only other story New Yorkers have on their mind tonight, besides the mayoral race, is the mysterious death of River Phoenix, especially the young people who held him up as a real role model. Now, with his death, America's youth has transformed him into an immortal legend.
I'd hate to characterize anybody's death as run-of-the-mill. We take everything very seriously and look into things as thoroughly as we can. I would say that this case would not be atypical.
He lived fast, he died young. He left a beautiful crowd in tears.
I'm sure he's in a better place right now, and it's just a really tragic loss.
I just think it's really sad that such a young, tremendous actor has to go away in such a way.
Outside the Viper Room, the nightclub on the Sunset Strip where River Phoenix died, the crowds were not waiting to get in. They were there to pay homage.
It's just a tragedy. It's a shame that at a young age, this man, went through something as sad as this. So we come to give our condolences and our prayers.
And all through the shadowy haunts of L.A., where River Phoenix worked and played, there was grief. Grief and resignation that this most special young actor may have fallen victim to a lifestyle.
He was a reflection of our generation, the 20-something generation. And you just have to remember all the good he's brought. And say it was drugs that killed him. I mean, who really cares? That doesn't matter. That's not going to change my opinion of him at all.
His films endure, his music echoes, and his spirit lives on in those who choose compassion, integrity, and truth in a world so often lacking them.
I've had a pretty good life, but very kind of random at times, exciting. For me, being true is all I can do, and that's all I can do in my craft that makes it valid for me.
River Phoenix's life is a haunting reminder of the dangers that come with child stardom. From a young age, he was thrust into an adult world, one that demanded talent, charm, and perfection, while offering little protection for his innocence or well-being.
The public nature of River's death, was it something that intruded upon you?
During that time in which you're most vulnerable, there are helicopters flying over and there are people that are trying to sneak onto your land. Certainly for me, it felt like it impeded on the mourning process, right? You had said that, for years you found it difficult to say your brother's name or to talk about it. And I really identify. My mom and my sisters were the ones that really kept his memory alive and kind of the willingness to talk about it.
The pressures placed on child actors are immense. Fame isolates them. Industry expectations force them to grow up too fast. And behind the bright lights, many are left vulnerable to exploitation, manipulation, and the numbing grip of addiction or despair.
There's a sad memory for me just because I liked River Phoenix so much, and he passed at such an early age.
Yeah.
And he was one of those wonderful young actors. He couldn't have been more than 13 or 14 at the time. And he was the one that would call you in your room every night and go, "Do you mind running over this lines with me for the scene?" And he loved it so much, and you could just see that he was going to be a really special actor, and he was. And it was just, every time I think about the film, I get very sad about just not having him around.
Los Angeles County Fire Captain Ray Rebar, the man who heads the paramedic team that tried to save River's life. He was quoted by the Associated Press saying he was told on the scene it was cocaine that was involved. He said, quote, "It was the classic cocaine overreaction. It just nails some people and stops the heart," end quote. Captain Rebar is not talking anymore. Sources tell A Current Affair he was reprimanded, ordered not to talk again. And today, there are many more unanswered questions.
Have you talked to the people that River Phoenix was at that club with that night? Christina Applegate or Samantha Mathis or Flea?
We will be talking to those people. I think the investigators are waiting for a few days, and it's my understanding he's waiting to the funeral to speak with them.
If drugs were involved, could the club owner be held accountable?
Well, of course, we want to talk to everybody that may have some information, but right at this point, we have no idea if anybody would be, criminally liable. We're handling this as basically a death with the causes unknown until we get the tox test back.
River was not alone. Before him, Heather O'Rourke, the sweet, wide-eyed star of Poltergeist, also died tragically young. She was just 12 years old when she passed from complications that some believe were worsened by some form of abuse and neglect, compounded by the grueling demands of Hollywood.
Hey, what are you doing?
I can't watch. It's so sad. I love panda bears. Stuff looked good on the picture.
Yeah, we'll just turn the TV back on, all right?
Why can't my friends come over?
His mom can't handle it.
How long's it gonna be like this?
I don't know.
Hillary called. They're having this welcome party at school for all the mothers. She wants me to come bring Mama.
Dad will go with you.
It's for mothers.
If you don't have a mom, then your dad can go. Big deal.
But I have a mother.
There have been others. Corey Haim, a gifted child actor destroyed by addiction after years of alleged abuse. Dana Plato of Different Strokes, who died of an overdose at 34. Judith Barcy, the talented voice behind The Land Before Time, whose life was cut short at just 10 by violence at home. These stories are not isolated tragedies. They are part of a pattern. One that reveals how easily the entertainment industry chews up and discards its youngest and most vulnerable stars. The cost of early fame is often hidden until it's too late. And for every name we know, there are many more who suffer in silence, unseen by the world that once applauded them.
There's always been a presence in all of our work and in the paths that we took individually and collectively.
You still feel that you feel his presence in what you do?
Absolutely. I mean, I think in virtually every movie that I made, there was a connection to River in some way. I think that we've all felt his presence and guidance in our lives in numerous ways.
River's legacy, like Heather's, like so many others, calls us to look deeper, to protect the next generation, to ensure that no child is forced to pay with their life for the price of our entertainment.